Are people bored with the Dodgers? Are they impatient with them only being 15 games over 500 and plus 104? How do we manage both baseball and football when we're in the business? All that and more coming up next with my good buddy Kev Masarajan, aka at RotoSurgeon on Twitter. Coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erikson here with Kev Masarajan, a.k.a. RotoSurgeon. You can find him on RotoBall. You can find him in the Operating Room podcast. Find him Disney podcast now with our buddy Frank Amirani as well. Lots of good stuff. We are brought to you, as always, by So Rare and by Prize Picks. And we got a lot to talk about today. Kev, welcome. How you doing?
Hey, Jeff. Thank you for having me on the RotoWire pod once again. I feel like we're making a little bit of a habit of this, and I'm always happy to talk with you. Frank and I actually just started the Friendly Fire pod every Tuesday, so we're going to be live on Twitter doing something like this, similar to, but, not as exciting as talking to you, Jeff. So happy to be on, and let's get right into it.
All right, let's talk Dodgers first. They won on Tuesday against the Rangers, but then had a bizarre loss last night. Corey Seager, the big 3-run homer in his first revenge game. And then Andy Pages getting hosed at the plate, running through a stop sign. They're still plus 104 on the season, plus 15 in the win-loss column, 42 and 27. But there's kind of a perception, I guess, when you compare it versus like the Yankees or the Phillies or the Orioles, like, oh, they're kind of overachieving. I kind of feel like we get this every year, though, with this Dodgers team.
Yeah, I mean, look at what they're doing. They're kind of just slow playing the actual, they're playing with weights on right now. You look at the bottom three of that order, they're just messing around. Gavin Lux has no business starting on this team, but he's a prospect, a high-level prospect who got injured, and that was unfortunate, but his time is going to come if he keeps playing the way he does. Jason Hayward, fine. Miguel Rojas, that's a bench bat. They don't plan on playing these guys regularly in the playoffs, and they're going to make those decisions. They're going to make moves come the trade deadline. People are getting healthy, like Clayton Kershaw's getting ready to come back. Bobby Miller is getting ready to come back. They're pushing Yoshinobu Yamamoto back starts, and they don't care.
Right. They're putting Joe Sheehan wrote about this, like pushing certain relievers into high leverage situations to see if they've got it, to see if they can find the next Evan Phillips. I like how they do that. They're smart that way. Yeah, you're right. They're kind of slow playing the regular season as they always do. I mean, they got swept by the Reds, but I remember a year ago, they got swept by the Pirates in a series. It happens.
Yeah. I mean, how many, they dropped 14 runs a couple days ago, and they could do that on a given day. Like, obviously a good day is 14 runs, but everything will come together. I'm a fan. I am a Dodgers fan, so I do speak from a sort of bias, obviously, but we've seen this year in, year out. It's what can they do in the playoffs? I don't care about winning 105 to 115 games in the regular season. I don't think they do either at this point.
Right. I think they've learned from their experience in the past few years where, okay, it's great to dominate. It's great to even get the bye. But you actually have to be peaking at time for the playoffs there. And I think that's a lesson they've had to learn and relearn. And that's why they're slow playing Bobby Miller, making sure he's 100%. While they slow played Buehler to start the season, they want to make sure they're not like managing his workload in September. They want him to be peaking in September. I think it's pretty smart.
Yeah. I mean, he threw 5 innings yesterday and he looked okay. It wasn't great. He's had good starts. He's had bad starts. It's just about getting him in rhythm. And I'd rather have him face tough teams like the Rangers than kind of like baby him and just, see where he's at. If his ERA is a little funky at the end of the year, that's okay. It's like, is he going to be peaking, like you said, come playoff time?
Exactly there. So it's something I'm going to watch for there a little bit. But yeah, at the same time, I think let's talk Buehler, too, because what sort of pitcher can he be over the second half? What kind of pitcher can he be in the playoffs?
His velo's good. That's the big thing. When he was struggling or kind of on the decline a few years ago prior to the Tommy John, his velo had dropped from 97, 98 down to 95, 96. And we weren't seeing him act as the strikeout pitcher he had been early on in his career when we saw this dominance and, a fringe first round pick in fantasy. And now, his velo is at what's he at? He's averaging 95.6, but he's hitting the high end marks that we want to see. He's still not quite there yet, but we've had starts, like 2 or 3 starts this far with the strikeout numbers hitting 7 or 8. So he's someone you kind of have to maybe bench in some situations. That sucks to say if you drafted him and you've held on to him this long. I don't know if you agree or not, but like I have benched him in certain spots. I started him versus the Rangers because he was at home and it was okay, but hopefully you didn't pay too much.
Well, yeah, I think it depends on how early you drafted. If you drafted in February before they announced that, he's going to miss the first month of the season, you probably paid a price like a 9th or 10th round price for him. If you, and this is like in a 15 team, but maybe a draft, maybe even earlier. I'm trying to remember exactly. I kind of, you kind of bury that sort of there a little bit. You memory hole it there if you screwed up. If you drafted late March, you knew what you're getting into at least. So it's a little different. I think if you're in a 10 or a 12 teamer, you're probably you're deep enough that you can probably make some moves, especially because we have been able to find some pitching. It may not be great free agents, but we are like, a Jake Irvin's out there, and I'd rather start Jake Irvin than Buehler. And
that's what I was gonna say. That was the exact picture I would bring up as the like, I don't want to say Joe Schmo, but like who is this guy? Like Mitchell Parker, even. I know he wasn't too great in his earlier start this week, but like the Nationals have competent starting pitching. What? Where did this come from?
Exactly. And that's why they're not terrible. That's why they're a team that can play a little bit there. I think they lost today because the bullpen blew it. It was a Patrick Corbin day anyhow, but 32 and 36 still is, in the mediocre NL, that's still alive.
Yeah, very much so. Like you could get like Michael Lorenzen off like the wire, and he might be a better start than Walker Buehler some weeks. And that's unfortunate to say, but again, the Dodgers are still trying things. It is weird. Like even Bobby Miller was struggling early on in the season. People were paying a high price. I was paying a high price for Bobby Miller, and they're still probably going to try some things with him going forward. And it's unfortunate for our sake as fantasy baseball players, but
you look at that. Pull up a depth chart there. So in the playoffs, you got Glasnow and Yamamoto, probably have Buehler, and then you kind of have to decide, will Kershaw be up to speed? Is Gavin Stone hold that rotation spot? Who are the 4 starters in the playoffs? They're not going to go 5, but they probably will go 4. And I think you got a clear top 2. And then after that, I think it's still up for grabs a little bit.
I think Buehler fits that like fireman long relief role best. Whereas Stone, he's been electric for the past 6-7 starts. Like,
that's right.
Early season, definitely some struggles, but you look at him, his ERA is like, I think under 2 over the past month and a half. And his peripherals are borderline matching it at low 3, XFIP, Sierra, all that good stuff over the past like 6 or so starts.
Absolutely. I think that's a good problem to have. We know James Paxton will not be one of your playoff starters.
No.
I think we can safely confirm that, but it's good to have that flexibility. The bullpen shaping up nicely. Vesia's had a nice bounce back. Hudson's awesome. Trinan is now back looking healthy. So, I think they're better equipped than they were. Now, granted, they're still got 4 months of regular season for these guys to get hurt, and that's what relievers do. But at the same time, they got a good back end of the bullpen.
And they're still going to add. They're not done.
Which that leads to the next question. What do the Dodgers add at the trade deadline?
There have been rumors about like Bo Bichette, and I don't think they go high end name, but I don't know. I think they have to add bats. Like that's just a must. But like they can go, man. I don't even have names off the top of my head. But there are going to be guys that are going to be available. Like the Angels are going to be selling for sure. The Athletics are likely selling. You can maybe get a JD Davis low. You can go get. They need lefties at the back end because again, Lux is struggling. Off the top of my head, the Marlins, Josh Bell. No, you can't get him first base DH.
Yeah, that's locked up. Yeah,
Jesus Sanchez. Let's say they trade for. That could be a guy, he's underperforming his X stats all across. And then he could be a fantastic second half performer in fantasy, even though he'll be a platoon guy. But even so, it could be like a high-end jock.
Yeah, I could see that. I kind of look at what like the Braves did in when the year they won Acuna got hurt, and they added like 3 outfielders. They threw volume at the problem. Yeah. Rosario was great for a while. At one point, Soler was awesome in the World Series. Duvall actually was pretty darn good. They addressed that. They were saying, okay, well, we don't have one guy that we think is really a good difference maker, but we'll throw these 3 guys out there and see who's hot at the time.
Yeah.
By the way, PJ says Craig Mish reports hearsay evidence that Craig Mish says that the Marlins are too invested in Jesus Sanchez. So fair enough. We're just throwing names out here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the Marlins are one of like 5 true sellers out there right now. And last year there were only 9 sellers, but you got the Angels, the A's, the Marlins, the Rockies, the paste-eating Rockies, got to call them by their proper name, and probably like maybe, and obviously the White Sox at whatever they have that's not.
There you go, Gavin Sheets. They'll go get Gavin Sheets or some random guy, and it'll be like a second half star,
right? And it's going to be guys like, it's going to be like those Anthopoulos trades where we're underwhelmed a little bit, and they don't give up a whole lot for them, but it's just they get the veterans, they get some players that can be improvements. I mean, let's face it, when you're trying to improve off of Chris Taylor, how hard can it be? I mean, there's
Taylor, Kike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, Gavin Lux, like they're just throwing out bodies at this point. Yeah. They're playing 6 versus 9. Yeah. When it comes down to it, like they don't care right now.
Eddie says, don't forget about the Mets as sellers. I think you're probably right about that. About 29 and 37, they're still only like 4 games out of the last wild card spot. It's just crazy how mediocre the NL is right now. Yeah. But I think you're probably right. Last year, there were like 9 or 10 sellers, though. That's one of the things that's kind of happened in baseball is there's just a lack of volume, lack of inventory to trade for. And so, for instance, I got so mad about my Reds doing squat at the trade deadline. I still am right to be mad. But the fact is, it's hard to find inventory out there. There have to be willing sellers.
I would love to see the Dodgers trade for like Brett Beatty and turn him around. Because people were joking like, oh, Kevin Biggio is like 29. I don't think he's anything more than he's been. Like Max Muncy, when the Dodgers turned him around, he was a little bit younger. And it was magic what they did with Muncy. Yeah. But like I could see a Beatty who's underperformed his X-stats go into a much more favorable home park, much better offense, obviously. With the Dodgers and, really break out. They do have a need at third base, especially with Muncy kind of like, I don't know what's going on with his oblique right now. So
yeah, it seems like they keep on having more and more setbacks there. So yeah, I wouldn't count on it. But that was actually, that's a big missing piece. And it lengthened, it shortened the Dodgers roster. Their lineup, excuse me. It became like a bottom 3, maybe a bottom 4, as opposed to like, you got that top 6 that are solid. Yeah. Outman flaming out like he did. Maybe he bounces back. He's
heating up.
Yeah,
I was gonna pick him up in our Scarf League, not to give it away, but Outman's someone that we could keep an eye on. And I don't know how much he impacts it, but they're gonna bring him up. They're gonna go get pieces. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Indeed, maybe the Blue Jays. We're waiting for some losing streaks here. Jays, Rays, maybe the Tigers, maybe maybe the Astros don't get it together. That would be wild. That would be the weird sell. Like Alex Bregman, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. That him being a piece on the market would change things up a little bit. That would be a great fit for the Dodgers, actually. Maybe. Of course, he has to.
I don't know if they want I don't know if they want to be tainted.
Right.
With, that Astros.
That's true. There's a little bit of a history. I keep forgetting that. I'm an Angelino, but not a Dodgers fan. I don't hate him, but unlike you, I'm a Reds fan. So I'm not really a true blue Dodgers fan that hate the Astros. But same, because I think the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Red Sox all had their own systems too. But that's another debate for another day. I don't get as worked up about it there. But point is, man, we need a couple more losing streaks out there before we get some more sellers.
They're going to come. They're coming.
Yeah. We're going to talk about another slumping team here that kind of ended a losing streak today. But first, quick note from our friends at So Rare. Your journey to MLB All-Star Weekend starts on So Rare MLB. This June, join the action for a chance to win a VIP experience to MLB All-Star Weekend 2024 by collecting digital trading cards and playing fantasy baseball. Participate in the All-Star Collection event by building collections of your favorite MLB teams and players. The grand prize is a VIP experience at MLB All-Star Weekend, including a $1,000 travel voucher, tickets to the Home Run Derby, All-Star Game, Features Game, and more. It's free to enter. Every new sign-up gets one entry. Start collecting today. Plus, the June Chase competition offers $20,000 in total cash rewards and more chances to win an MLB All-Star VIP experience. These events run from June 10th to June 30th, so don't miss your chance to enjoy All-Star Weekend like never before. Play So Rare MLB today. Also, we're on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for all those you listening. Thank you to Sir Rare. Let's jump back into it here. I'm with Kev Masarajan. Let's talk a little Braves. They won today, but they have not been playing to their standards. In fact, Alex Anthopoulos even had a press conference yesterday before yesterday's loss talking about that. Of course, they lose Acuna and Strider off the top. You could give them a little bit of grace.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a hilarious setback. Like, it's like everything that can go wrong for the start of the season for the Braves has gone wrong. Sean Murphy in like the first game of the season injured his oblique. Austin Riley's been dealing with injuries. What's it called? Like Travis d'Arnaud was like on a heater for 1 week and then he completely fell off the face of the earth. And it's basically been the Ozuna show for that offense. It's like if Ozuna's not hitting, this offense is useless.
Yeah.
They got Kalenic back recently and he's been okay, but overall, even like just looking at this team on paper, it's still good.
Yeah,
like Olsen's gonna be fine, Riley will be fine, Murphy, we'll see, but like last year he was one of the 12 best hitters in all of baseball. He underperformed a little bit, but they have the pieces to still be a top 10 offense in the MLB even without Acuna. And yeah, I'd be buying in like fantasy like Michael Harris. I'd be buying Riley, Olsen. I'd be taking off pieces. Ozuna's probably the one that you can't really afford.
Right.
If you're buying low, that's it.
Well, yeah, because there's no buy low there. It's just buy high. You know what? Sometimes that's worth it too, by the way. You just buy them at value and you think that, okay, because people may think, okay, I got to sell him now. And you get a reasonable price from there. It's possible. Of those slumpers, I think Olsen's already coming around already. So I'm not even including, but Harris, Murphy, Riley, Albies, is there one that you're worried about at all?
Harris, Murphy, Albies, and what was it? I guess Riley probably just because his profile is the sketchiest. Like he used to have strikeout issues. He fixed it and he was this amazing hitter for like 3 straight seasons, but he's the kind of guy that can kind of revert to bad habits. So, and not to say he'll be bad, but he might not meet expectation for the name. Whereas with Harris has been fine. He's hitting leadoff. He's going to score runs. He's going to steal some bases. He's going to hit his like 18 home runs or so. Yeah. I'm not worried. Albies, another guy that like, what was his injury? His foot? I forgot what he hurt, but he had something though. It's always something.
Yeah.
But he's fine. I'm not worried about Albies. Even if he's not performing too well, he's performing fine enough. Yeah. So Riley's the concern, but even so, I'd probably buy him anyway.
Yeah, I got Riley in my only keeper league. So I locked him in his down year, so I'm not going to complain because I've gotten a lot out of him. But man, it's been like over a month since his last homer.
That's not great.
It's really nuts. It's just, and it's the hard hit data. And I know he had that injured streak where he didn't go on the IL and he should have. But last time he homered was against the Dodgers on May 3rd.
Do you want some bad news?
Sure, why not?
Austin Riley, Max Kepler. Expected batted average exactly the same, expected slugging exactly the same. So
how dare you defame the good name of the astronomer Max Kepler there with that.
At least Max Kepler's outperforming his stats right now. He's at 254.09, whereas Riley's just sunk.
It's frustrating there, and he's striking out a ton. You don't love that either.
Bad habits
like K percentage is actually it's about the same. Ks and walks are about the same. It's just that you're just getting very little bang for the buck too. I don't know. I'd even out of principle, I think I'd even try to buy low on him. Of course, because we don't. I mean, as much as we know StatCast wise, as much as we know about the concepts, we don't really know like human biorhythms. We don't know why a player is doing these sort of things. Sometimes it's good just to blindly buy low, buy lowest, as my friend Chris Liss always likes to say. Get him at his absolute bottom value. This is about it for Riley, I think.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Is he just hitting a bunch of ground ball? I don't even know. I guess, ground ball percentage is a career high, but it's not even that high. It's probably just quality of contact that's poor. And, you could change that, but at the same time, it might be next year where he completely reverts because there's no
clock on it there. They're tricky. They're so mean that way that they don't tell us when they're going to heat up there like that. But, frequently searched guy, I'm sure, on Savant, on Fangraphs and all that. They're just trying to look for all that. But I do think the Braves ultimately will be okay. But it's funny is that they're getting by on pitching right now. Reynaldo Lopez was great again today. He's got a league low major league ERA for starting pitchers. Didn't have that in my bingo card this year. I knew I kind of liked him, but I can't go out claiming victory for kind of liking a guy. That's not, but at the same time, he's been great. Fried's been pretty solid. I mean, it's not the starting pitching outside of maybe the fifth starter slot, but it's the other stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, Charlie Morton, his time has come. I think.
Yeah, sure.
He's dust. But look, I mean, the bullpen at least has been solid. Like Raisel Iglesias is like one of the league leaders in saves right now. And people were writing him off, even though he missed a month of last year.
Yeah.
And he was a saves leader for last year, despite missing time. So if you drafted him, that's huge. But again, it's pitching, not much else.
They need to get Minter back too. That hurt. Yeah. That injury hurt them a little bit. All right. Enough Braves talk. We've spent a lot of time.
Yeah. I'm sick of the Braves.
Yeah, I am too. Just generally speaking, in my leagues, I don't know if this is true for you, but I found that I haven't found too many great free agents available. And the ones that we have been picking up haven't had the impact we'd hope for. Maybe I just suck at fab. I think there is a possibility of that. But I think last year we had like the ace of the week, and I don't feel like we've had that this year.
Pitching's been tough. Again, Jake Irvin is probably the star of the last 2 weeks, if anyone. And obviously he's played like the Tigers recently, so that's not really the biggest, amazing, the most amazing thing that could ever happen. Looking at hitters, it's really about striking on the guys that get dropped.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Vaughn, he's heating up. That's someone that universally drafted pretty much. And now, you're seeing Andrew Vaughn wake up a little. Gavin Sheets, his StatCast is incredible. He's like a top 30 performer. He's a rough week so far, but I don't know. There's been some guys like Jacques Peterson's had a couple good weeks, but overall, you're right. Someone mentioned Tommy Pham in the chat. That was a fantastic early season grab.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Colton
David
Cowser,
Schneider
but
for a
you
little
probably
bit.
missed Colton Cowser was a good pickup, but you missed his best week.
That's the thing. And then you carried him through a cold stretch.
Yeah. And now he's kind of warming up again, which is nice. But I don't see too many enduring value hitters. That's for sure. Which is, by the way, it's the hardest to find. Maybe Brenton Doyle is available in your league at one point in time, depending on the depth of your league. He's actually been a good pickup. But I'm struggling to find too many found money when it comes to hitters. Brent Rooker was dropped in some leagues. Again, speaking to your point though, finding the drops, universally buying low, just throwing, keep on finding, perusing people's drops, other people's trash basically is your treasure.
I'll say Outman, as I mentioned earlier, could be a second half star. Spencer Torkelson ripping up AA, right? Or AAA, excuse me.
Yeah.
There's some guys that can just come back in a week. Jordan Walker, I held on way too long and he's just been awful. So I don't think that's happening this year, at least, or at least anytime soon.
Yeah, he has 2 homers at AAA now and 2 homers since last August or whatever, overall in every level of baseball. So, yeah. Uncle Ted mentioned some guys that have been good pickups so far. And you're right. Yeah. Elio Ramos. I got to remember it's
right.
The H. Alec Burleson's had his moments. David Fry has been one of the best pickups. Okay, David Fry is, if you had David Fry, kudos to you, because that's the best, pure, nobody dropped him. You just saw his viability on the waiver and picked him up. Best pure pickup probably so far.
He had a week against 3 weeks ago against, it was Rockies and Nationals, and it was 5 lefties. I picked him up and I had to hold him, but then there was one league I dropped him because Sean Murphy was activated, and I should have just dropped Sean Murphy, honestly, and held on to David Fry. But what are you gonna do? But I think Alec Burleson, that's a good mention. That's probably the best last month pickup.
Right.
It's probably Tommy Pham to start, and then Alec Burleson of late.
And we found money, I think, on the pitcher side of things. Obviously, Kirby Yates, if you jumped on Kirby Yates, although the Rangers have been providing precious few save opportunities, Dodgers Rangers, that highlights that. I have Evan Phillips, and he's had 1 save chance since coming off the IL, and it was on that Sunday. So nobody had him active unless you activated him, took the chance he was going to be activated over the weekend. Because remember, he was a midweek activation by the Dodgers. So I haven't had him active for a save in a month. Which
you're talking to a guy who picked up Daniel Hudson when Evan Phillips went down.
Oh, I did too.
In every league.
Yeah.
And I got 1 save through 3 weeks, I think.
And he pitched fine too, by the way. He just never had a chance. You're talking to a guy that picked up Hudson everywhere the first time. I played the whole free peak thing on the NFBC platform. In fact, drafted him in the main event at 22 or 20. I think it was 23.1. Knowing that I'm just buying a win, and I got actually a win and a save, which was
I had that too. The freebie.
Yeah. Yep, the freebie is a good thing.
Last one. You're talking to a guy who fabbed Trevor McGill everywhere and then dropped him when his concussion hit,
Oh
thinking
no.
Abner Uribe and then Payamps were the guys because they were the guys who got saves, and then
Yep.
Trevor McGill's the guy. And
Did you
who
go
knows?
back in on McGill though? Did you like swallow your pride and just go back in on him?
I held him in Tout Wars. I
Okay.
held him because he was on IL, but otherwise I dropped him in every other league, and he got picked up almost immediately. And I kind of it was Payamps and Uribe at that time, so I held on. I mean,
well,
I think I actually chased Payamps. I chased Payamps. It was what can you do sometimes?
Yeah, and the thing is, don't be too proud to chase. I mean, that thing is, we make mistakes and we kind of chase back, and that's fine. I think that's one of the lessons we do have to learn, especially when we're not finding the prospect of the week, of the year, of the century. You just have to keep on cycling there. And I think it all goes back to profit off of your own and others' mistakes. Because that's the way it works sometimes. One other, there's one other, who was the other guy? Oh, Ronel Blanco. He was a nice little pickup too. And I thought when he came back from the suspension, maybe we see a little tail off, and it looked like we might, but no, he's been really good the last couple of times out.
And on the opposite end, Jacob Young, who was on fire for like 2 weeks, and then he completely flamed out.
Yep, exactly. So you got to try to kind of find your lucky spots there. We're going to talk about a few slumping veterans. Maybe people are going to make some mistakes about these guys, or maybe we're just stuck with them. We're going to talk about that. But first, quick note from our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country. It's really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats that provided by Prize Picks and watch the winnings roll in. RotoWire has a new Prize Picks app. It's Picks app featuring Prize Picks among others, but we've had it on the site. Now you can also get it in app form, and if it's free with a RotoWire subscription, you can use that in any sport, whether you want to do the less than on Luka Doncic's 42.5 points and rebounds tomorrow night against the Celtics, or you want to go more on Jose Caballero total bases tonight against the Cubs. You can do either, and you can do it all. You can mix sports. You can do all sorts of good stuff there on Prize Picks. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download the app today and use code ROTOPOD for first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code ROTOPOD for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy at Prize Picks. I'm here with the RotoSurgeon himself, Kev Massarejan. I almost called you Kevin, but I nipped it in the bud. I did it just in time. Let's talk about some of these slumping veterans. I kind of looked at our respective scarf rosters there as a good starting point, because I know we're both toiling in mediocrity right now in that league. So I thought that'd be a good launch point there. Let's talk a little Paul Goldschmidt. Homer today. He's got like the Kettle Marte hitting streak where it's like 1 hit a day, and which is nice. But today at least was a homer.
Yes.
Is this a cliff year for Paul Goldschmidt? Are we talking like a rich man's Jose Abreu, or is he going to bounce back?
Rich man's Jose Abreu is a little much. I think he's the like final few years Joey Votto, where you were like, okay, yeah, he's probably losing it. Maybe he has like a good half of a season next year or whatever, but this is probably it for Goldy. Like his swing, what is it? His swing speed's way down. He's just his profile, like his what's it called? Walks and strikeouts, not as good as they were obviously in his prime. Yeah, it's probably it. So like if you're getting any there's some fantasy value to reap for the rest of the year. I'm not saying drop him, but do not buy back in like next year. This is it.
Yeah. This year, buy low. I mean, is there that opportunity? I mean,
it's probably a couple weeks ago, if anything.
Yeah, probably right. But yeah, it's funny, and especially because there's so many lousy first basemen this year. It's underrated how like disappointing the position has been.
Yeah, unless you got like Ryan O'Hearn and Ryan Mountcastle on the same team, which I do actually, because nice. O'Hearn you could throw in the outfield, which is the beauty of it. So that's kind of the nice thing. But he's good enough to be in your first base corner infield slot. Like Andrew Vaughn, like I said, he is picking up sheets. I don't know why I'm just repeating the same names, but these are the guys I roster across most formats, because it's like I guess Alec Boehm, maybe like if you picked him up, it's really weird because I mean Arenado's been mid for a corner infielder. A lot of guys. Christian Encarnacion Strawn's hurt and he's probably gone for the year. There's so many names that you can go up and down the list on corner infield that you're just like, should I even start him most of my weeks?
Yeah, it's painful. Goldschmidt, according to the RotoWire's earned auction value tool, he's in the same range as Luke Raley and Gavin Sheets and Yandy Diaz for the season. Yandy Diaz has sneakily been a bad fantasy player this year.
That's another one.
Yep. Anthony Rizzo, homer today. Way to go, Anthony. Yay. He's right in that range too. I mean, again, these are all guys that we're kind of counting on mid-round players. And in the case of Goldy, or earlier than mid-round, and it's frustrating knowing, okay, we kind of just stuck treading water. There's Andrew Vaughn right in the same neighborhood. Absolutely. Joey Meneses. Yeah. That's one of my big L's for the last 2 years, buying into Meneses. It's been a messes. I don't know.
Looking at Meneses, like I lucked out because he was like coming off of a broken leg and they weren't like good reports to start the year, so I was out. But it really is just about getting guys who stay healthy, especially on the older end, because like one nick or bruise can be it for like your season because they're just completely out of rhythm.
Exactly. Okay. Randy Arozarena. Since we're talking Rays here, we were talking with Yandy Diaz. How about Randy Arozarena? What's going on here? This isn't a. He can't be falling off a cliff this quickly, can he?
I mean, he's one of those guys where like the profile was never that great. And I mean, you think about like Carlos Gomez when he lost it. You think about like,
here's a name.
Yeah. Obviously he was amazing when he was great, but it's like Story. I mean, he got hurt, I guess, but some guys who never had great eyes at the plate, but they made it work. I mean, Arozarena walks a good bit, but for some reason, his StatCast profile was always pretty poor up until like last year. And then he finally became a good hitter, and now he's an awful hitter again. And he's due for some regression. It's probably what people who faded him after 2021 and 2022 were expecting.
Same with Adelise, for that matter.
Adelise is at least hitting homers, so who cares?
Yes,
it's just like that's just everything else. Like strikeout, home run. I don't care. I'll get the strike. I'll get the home runs every now and then.
And his counting stats are a lot better. RBIs, he's got 40 RBI opposed to Randy. So I can't trade for Randy, though. I kept in AL Tout Wars, AL only league. I straight up offered Luis Heel for Randy Arozarena and got just stiff armed. Although I think I asked it was the wrong owner because he's doing well in strikeouts. But again, context matters. And it was my fault because I read it wrong. I read the standings wrong, thought he needed Ks. And I even said, I think you need Ks and wins. He goes, dude, I'm like second in Ks. Like, okay. Classic fail, Jeff. But
the BABIP is definitely the one thing if you want to look at Arozarena and be like, he'll be okay eventually. Mm-hmm. And he was picking up earlier this week before the hamstring injury. So there's hope.
There is a new hope there. I still would try to trade for him right now if I could.
I agree.
I in fact, I would make that offer again. And if it met, as always, it matters what league you're in, what sort of context. It always matters. But if the other owner manager needed pitching, I would make that offer again. I feel okay. I might even lose the deal, but I don't care if it helps what I need by a couple of bucks. That's still and PJ makes a good point. If you drafted Randy, you're still competing. You're banking on the regression. You're probably not really willing to give up on the guy. I get it. Especially in an AL only league. Like, how are you going to replace him? What is floating on the waiver wire that you can just put into that spot? Has to be a 2-for-2, probably.
Yeah, I'm starting Richie Palacios in in a mixed league. It's like, I'll take Randy Arozarena if I can. Actually, should probably try to trade for him, but that's neither here nor there. Right. Point being, Arozarena, I mean, he 8 homers, 7 steals. At least there's something. Like, there's some floor. I mean, the runs, RBIs are bad because the offense is bad. I mean, not to talk about Wander Franco, but losing a legitimately elite piece at the top of that order, I think the offense just completely toppled because they were banking on him being a superstar, and they don't have that anymore.
Well, that, and you lose three top starters too. I mean, you lose Springs, you lose, Rasmussen.
I'm talking about the offense.
Flanagan. But no, I'm just saying, we'll build around the pitching. Oh no, we don't have pitching. Okay, well, at least we got Wander. No, we don't have that either. And I mean, that was it. It's devastating for a franchise when you've got that key cornerstone piece. It's kind of what happened to the Padres the year that Tatis got suspended.
And I mean, Tatis is back and the Padres are okay, but it's like weird because everything else fell apart.
Too late. Yeah.
Xander, Machado. I mean, I not to allude to something we're going to discuss later with Machado, but it's weird how team building is so fringe. It's like a house of cards almost if you're banking on that one guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Everything just has to go right. Yep.
Yeah, it really does. And It clearly didn't. And if you're in a dynasty league and you've got Franco, it's the same problem too. Keeper league there, and I had that in a score sheet league, and all of a sudden I didn't draft other shortstop prospects in reliance on him being there, and boom, that's gone. I straight up dropped him, and nobody else picked. I couldn't trade him for even I didn't want him on my roster. I made it clear I'll take a free agent pick, a waiver pick, because that's the way score sheet works. Nope, no dice. Nobody wanted anything for him, and I don't blame him. So I don't know if he ever plays a game again ever in MLB.
That's how I feel about Mike Williams in the NFL, except he's not a bad person. He might be done. So it's just like you're holding on. I'm like, I'll take anything for him at this point. Just get him off my roster. Exactly.
Okay, continuing our slumper series here. Julio Rodriguez in Scarf. I took him. Had plenty of other elite options early on in that draft and did not take them. At least I got 16 stolen bases from Julio Rodriguez. But so this is the problem though with player raters is they'll just look, okay, you got 16 stolen bases. He's worth $20. Yeah, but that's not what you drafted for power. You drafted for counting stats. You're not getting that again in reliance of what you think he's going to do. Like, okay, that first year slump thing was something that's not necessarily repeatable. Oh, or it is.
I look at Julio and I get frustrated, obviously, because I drafted him as well. He's Julio Rodriguez. He's a fantastic player. This isn't saying anything about the guy. And, there is a weird trend around baseball. Some high-end guys are definitely not performing up to snuff. And summer is coming. Summer will help the ball travel further. That is inevitable. That happens across the board. We'll forget we even discussed some guys as slumpers.
Sure, of course.
Come August. But with Julio Rodriguez, he's another good example of team context and how important that is to fantasy production. And even though the Mariners the past few seasons haven't been that great, they're better. They were better than they are this year. And what the Mariners are doing, obviously, we heard their GM, Dipoto, right, discuss they want to win like 54% of their games over the next 5 years or so. And that's kind of coming to fruition this year where you're watching a team that is so good on the pitching end that they ignored the batting and they tried to go so cheap, like Luke Raley, Mitch Garver, which hilarious. You're trying to make a catcher.
Luis Urias was my favorite offseason acquisition. We've solved third base, everybody. We got rid of Suarez. Here's Urias. You won't know. You won't be able to tell the difference.
Like Josh Rojas has been one of their best hitters, and that's not even saying much. It's been bad, but like better than everybody else, kind of. And Rodriguez is kind of the victim of this poor team building and why you want to draft early in your drafts good players on good teams. Yep. Yes, it could work out with like a CJ Abrams, Bobby Witt recently, but it could also topple hilariously with someone like Julio. And I guess the average is okay. The steals are good. The runs are good. But you need that power to really play.
I just noticed or remembered, I pulled up the draft board from that draft. I took J-Rod 1.2. You had Witt 1.3. Nice contrast there.
Thank you. Thank you, by the way, for that one. I would have absolutely taken – actually, I don't know if I would have taken J-Rod because he was dealing with something, wasn't he, preseason? Like a hand injury?
We drafted so early, though. We drafted earlier than we usually do. It was the week after the Super Bowl. We drafted before like spring training games even had started. And I think that was part of the issue. Maybe he was dealing with that, but I think he'll probably progress to the mean. And I think I'll be okay, but it's gonna fall a little short of projections of what we had hoped for, just because it doesn't fully equal out. It doesn't work that way. What he's done so far is banked. He's got 5 home runs. He's not going to hit 35 the rest of the way. No. So be it.
He'll get to 20 plus for sure. I think he's safe for that. The thing is, just to go back to it, it's like you look at Mookie, and Mookie was an option in the top 5.
Yep.
And you contrast
1-4. Yep.
You contrast the Dodgers offense with the Seattle Mariners. This is just preseason. You're like, on paper, this is a hilarious disparity between the two teams, obviously, like Ohtani, Freeman, Will Smith, etc. And it's like that should have been consensus. Not to say you were wrong with it. I took Julio over Mookie a few times, but it's just kind of changing the way we think about some of these top guys. Because Mookie, former MVP, current superstar, it's not like it would have been that outrageous to have a consensus opinion, especially with his second base shortstop eligibility.
Absolutely. And I think that was even before, because that was definitely before they said, oh God, Gavin Lux cannot play shortstop. So we didn't think he was going to do a whole lot of shortstop. We thought he was permanently second base this year, which would have been fine too, by the way.
Yeah, I've had him in second base the whole year. I haven't even moved him.
Yeah, of course. By the way, it could have been worse. We could have taken Corbin Carroll. So
now that was the guy that I think we could have known. Like, obviously, the injuries come into play with that one, but
And to your credit, you tweeted that out preseason. That was one of your that was RotoSurgeon Avoid. That
was a Run D McD. No. Shout out Dave McDonald. We got to shout out Dave McDonald. Always Run D McD. Yep. He is the injury awareness guru when it comes down to it.
But he was, I vividly remember this was a Kev fade. And your Kev fades are looking pretty smart right now.
I did fade William Contreras, so like let's not get too crazy here.
Well, yeah. Potato.
I appreciate
I'll have our misses though. I'd say it's more important to nail the fades than it is to nail the winners, though. Avoiding a time bomb like Carroll this year is just massive. Manny Machado. And in the NFBC main event, I could have taken my first starting pitcher at 5.1. I did a offense heavy build. Instead, I'm like, Machado, he's dropping. I know that he's coming off this injury, but he's DHing. We had the Korea games already. He looked great there. He's healthy. I think that's like the last time he homered. I know I'm exaggerating for effect, but it's been a very frustrating season watching him.
The thing with Machado is I saw the Jeff Zimmerman blurb. I mean, it's not like Jeff Zimmerman wrote it, but he obviously in Mining the News points these things out. There was a blurb stating Machado was basically not going to be 100% until 2025. Mm-hmm. And that's the red flag. That's the only red flag I needed. And I was out, especially as a top 100 pick. So I saw that. And Bogarts too was another one, not to like go off of my hits or technically misses that I had as hits. Oh, shout out to Trevor Lawrence getting his extension, by the way. Bogarts had the wrist injury that had been lingering and he never got surgery. Machado, was it his
shoulder? I think, right?
Shoulder? Yeah. See, sometimes injury is all you need to know for some guys, especially when you're paying a price.
Yeah, that's true. I got blinded by the production in front of me. It was like, okay, he wasn't healthy. He is now. But no, he wasn't playing the field even then, so I should have known better a little bit there. So not much hope for him the rest of the season in your mind, or do you think his batting average has heated up the last couple of weeks at least? What can we get the rest of the way from him?
I mean, so has Corbin Carroll's, but if you're not hitting home runs, what does it really matter?
That's a good point. Yeah, can't argue.
I mean, Carroll steals. Carroll steals at least. Like there's that, but Machado, it's like
good luck finding a good replacement at third base too. By the way, talk about a barren position.
Oh yeah, that has been. I mean, Michael Garcia. Shout out to him if you picked him up because that's been like a savior on the back end.
Yeah, I actually cut Key Brian Hayes in one league because I'm just so sick and tired of him. This was right when he went on the IL, and I haven't missed much since coming back. He had one homer, and like, okay, now he's healthy again. No, he's got 2 homers on the year. Just another disaster at third base this year.
He's a best ball / points league guy for me strictly from now on because I'm like this profile is what it is. Mm-hmm. Maybe a good average, maybe 15 home runs, couple steals. And if the offense is good, he'll be a good player in fantasy, but roto-wise, he's a jag.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, it's unfortunate there. All right. That's enough slumping veteran talk. Let's accentuate some positive here instead of just complaining about our bad mistakes or our underperformers. Yes. Take a look at Kev's timeline. You can see all sorts of NFL tweets right now, more NFL than baseball, but I know you still know your ball. We've been talking ball for the last 45 minutes, but you, like me, do both baseball and football work. And I'm finding it increasingly challenging to balance the two because the football season starts immediately after the Super Bowl. There's no real slow season for the fantasy football world. So how are you managing it? How are you able to divide your time and still do well in your leagues?
It's all about enjoying it first and foremost. Like I love fantasy. Like I love playing the game. I love studying, doing my projections and whatnot. I have those posted on Patreon, RotoSurgeon, if you want to go follow them for anybody. And it's like, if you don't find joy in it, limit it to where you do find that happiness. And for me, I enjoy football and baseball enough that I can carve out time in my, my evenings that are free to just research, do a little, play around with some things, do underdog drafts are fantastic. I was doing $3 drafts yesterday. You can do 5 of those and pass through your whole day if you have a dead day to just kill for no reason. So there's always something.
There is. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have kids. So that's one thing
that does help. Or a wife.
Huge time advantage there. But same time, it's interesting. It's just like my brain, Also, you're younger, more nimble than I am too, so it's easier to.
You have a softball game tonight. I don't have any softball games coming
Yeah.
up or any sort of athletic performances outside of going to the gym 3 times a week, maybe.
I do find my balance. I play tennis, golf, softball, you name it. I try to stay involved. This is the first year I'm not coaching soccer. My daughter is actually aged out of AYSO, so now that's one thing I have back in my life. But I actually miss the coaching. But anyhow, yeah, it is fun. And like we just did like our consensus 300 and up on RotoWire, the round table. That's fun, but it's like, wow, it's June. We're doing that now. It's just that's the standard. The standard is March, April, it's like if you're not doing that. And we do talk some football on the XM show. We have all season long with dynasty leagues or, dynasty drafts happening before the NFL draft. In some cases, it's wild.
I mean, look, Scott Fishbowl invitations went out last month so. I mean, even before then, dynasty drafts are going on right after the NFL draft. And then pre-draft, you're looking at analysis for the rookie players that are coming. There's always something. And obviously this coincides with baseball season, but it's obviously how you prioritize. And I'm sure you've mastered it at this point, doing this for so many years now. But it's just about, finding appropriate time to allot to all these things. And I mean, I get these lunch breaks. I'm obviously here at work right now, and I spend it on a podcast with you because this is what I love doing. And I'm sure, you're at home doing it
the way it goes. I love doing it there.
It's fun.
All we need is a beer in front of us, and we'd be perfect.
Maybe not 3:52, but maybe 5 o'clock. It's coming up.
Exactly. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. There you go. You're doing Scott Fishbowl live, same place I am. So looking forward to that.
See you there, brother.
We're not in the same draft, but that's okay. I did join. I've got the two group chats on Twitter, the IM group chats, one instant message or not direct DM group chats, one for Scott Fishbowl LA and one for the 1.03 pick. Kudos to those guys. They're on fire. I get like 37,000 notifications from that already, but it's fun though. I mean, I get the enthusiasm. It's cool. The scoring rules came out. So now everybody's talking about tight end 37 and how they're going to take them in the 5th round. But hey, that's fine too. It's going to be funny to see how everybody has these different experiences going with it there too.
Yeah, I'm at 102. So options are, I haven't looked at the scoring yet, but I don't have to really worry. It's just like, I'll take one guy or another. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. We're a super flex league, just to kind of let everybody know. But
yeah,
the Fishbowl rules are interesting in the scoring. He tries to make every position balanced. So he heightened the tight end scoring rules even more this year. It's like 1.5 points per reception, 1.5 points per first down for tight ends, as opposed to 1 for the other positions. It's interesting to see how it's going to boost there a little bit there. But anyways, that's a little far afield because this is a baseball podcast. Kev, I know you're taking time off from your lunch break there. You used it up on humble me here. So I do appreciate that. And answering the call as you always do. So thanks for coming on board today. Tell everybody what they can find from like your Patreon, your podcast, you name it.
Okay, yeah, the Patreon's RotoSurgeon, the Twitter's everything's RotoSurgeon at this point. If you want to find me anywhere online, you can't really see my likes anymore, unfortunately, but that'll just be a bunch of Rashad Bateman and Quentin Johnson propaganda. That's fun stuff. But otherwise, the Operating Room podcast, which is posted weekly, and then Friendly Fire, like I stated earlier, with Frank Amarante at Amarante TFJ on Twitter. Make sure to go follow him too. Every Tuesday evening, around Pacific time, I guess 6 p.m. let's say, that will be posted. Jeff, thank you so much for having me. I will be seeing you next month. I'm looking forward to it. We always have a good time when we're at these live drafts or whatever events. So
and our buddy Vlad Sedler will be there too. So looking forward to that.
Whole gang.
Lot of good industry peeps. And he's also in, at least he was at the scarf draft as well. So we got a lot of crossover appeal there. All right, that's going to wrap up today's pod. Thanks to everybody tuning in. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, hit that notifications button. And if you're really feeling frisky, go ahead and review us as well. We really appreciate it. You can go to get the free access to RotoWire, free peek behind the paywall, rotowire.com/pod. And also make sure to check out Kev's work, the Operating Room. Just follow him on RotoSurgeon and they'll point you in the right direction. Tomorrow we got 2 start starters with Clay and Todd. Listen to that. Thank you for listening to RotoWire. Take care.